Oh my gosh, a year ago we just got back from camping, and just got unpacked, and then not to expect what was going to happen that night.
They didn't expect it, and still to this day, South Bend families are moving forward a year after record rainfall ruined their homes. Thanks for joining us here on ABC 57 News at 5:30. We are continuing our coverage of South Bend's record rainfall 1 year later. I'm Colleen Borman.
I'm Brian Dorman. Both of us remember it like it was yesterday. Let's get right into it here. The live team coverage continues now with ABC 57 Chief Meteorologist Tom Coombs and meteorologist Emily Kennedy. Tom is standing by live on South Bend's south side, where folks had to be rescued in canoes this time last year. But let's start with Emily. Emily, walk us through that night that all of us remember so very well.
That's right. We want to bring you back now to when those waters started to rise. Check out this timeline that lays out hour by hour. On August 15th, a year ago from today, rain began falling in Michiana just before noon. Heavy rain was in the forecast, but it was the flow of moisture from the Gulf of Mexico that supplied an ample amount of moisture. That in turn led to a historic flood that is only a chance of 1 in 1,000. Now, as the rain began to add up, the ingredients for possible flash flooding were seen. A flash flood watch was issued right around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. As the rain intensified around 9:30 in the evening, the flash flood watch was upgraded to a warning for St. Joseph, Berrien, Cass, LaPorte, and Stark counties.
Over 2 inches at the South Bend Airport. Over 2 inches of rain reported, and I'm getting reports in out of Elkhart and LaPorte on social media of over 2.5 inches of rain, and it's still coming down. This highlighted area is the area of impact. This is where we've seen the most rain. This is where the flash.
2 hours later, an aerial flood warning was posted. From that point forward, parts of northwest Indiana quickly saw rain add up. That led to intense flooding and rushing water on the roadways. Just before midnight, Vahid Sadrzadi was on the scene of the flash flooding.
I arrived on the scene here at Ridgedale Drive in South Bend. Just beyond the school here, there's 2 guys walking down the street, 2 gentlemen. They said, "We've never seen anything like this in South Bend." We ran into the fire department. They were driving the streets. They confirmed to us, guys, 4 feet of water here just to my left. You can see the car. It's sweeping away. This is Ridgedale Drive, and you can see it's a river behind me.
When the rain had finally ended, Walkerton saw the amount of rain, about 10.45 inches of rain. That's a lot of rain in one spot. The highest totals across Michiana were seen in St. Joseph, northeast Stark, and northwest Marshall counties. Many were left cleaning up for weeks after that weather event. Let's go now to Chief Meteorologist Tom. He's on the south side, which we explained at 5 is shaped just like a punch bowl, which is exactly why the waters got so high there. Tom, you're breaking down some more data for us here at 5:30.
Yeah, I've got that, but I've got to tell you, I just had a neighbor come and talk to me between 5 and 5:30, and to confirm me that it's the most rainfall he ever saw in this area, and he was dealing with 2 sub pumps that night trying to pump out the water. And so that's significant, and that's what we're talking about. You know, extreme weather is not unusual for Michiana. We've seen heat waves, we've seen blizzards, tornadoes, and of course floods. All those events and the everyday weather in between makes up our climate record, the status quo. What is normal? We typically see warm days in the summer, cold days in the winter, and a good amount of snow in Michiana. For South Bend, our longest regional data site is a record that goes back to the late 1800s, and that's for South Bend. Take a look at this. Since 1950, South Bend has seen an increase in rainfall. It's not a sharp increase, but over 60+ years, even a small increase has some significance. What's even more interesting is South Bend's annual rainfall has seen an increase, even though the occurrences of rain have gone down. Notice that there are some dry years and wet years, including some drought in the 80s and early 2000s, but the overall trend is up. So for that to happen, it's meaning it's raining less, but when it does rain, we're getting a whole lot more rain with it. This is a long-term trend. We are looking for a possible sign of impacts from climate change. Now look at this. Extreme rainfall events are supposed to be pretty rare. The whole 1 in 500, 1 in 1,000 rainfall means just that. The odds of it happening should be low. However, as we look back at the heavy rain events since 1950, the 2-inch events have fluctuated some, but the 3, 4, and 5-inch events have really increased, especially since 2000. These events are happening more than once a decade instead of once a century or once in a millennia. So there's South Bend, but we looked at 12 cities in the region, and South Bend is not alone. Most have all seen an increase in annual rainfall and heavy rain events. 7 have seen an increase in 4-inch rain events, and 4 saw at least a 5-inch rain event. So this is not an isolated thing. And these are the regional sites that have long-term climate records. But think about this. There are places that fell in between just this summer. Southern Wisconsin, parts of central Indiana, the Kokomo area, and even here in northern Indiana. Plymouth, Bourbon, Warsaw saw extreme rainfall events just back in the beginning of July. So where do we go from here? Ahead at 6, you're going to hear from a family who lost nearly everything to rushing water, as well as another sit down with South Bend's Mayor Pete Buttigieg about what he thinks actually caused last year's mess. And be sure to stay right here for those stories. But for now, we'll send it back to you guys in the studio. Brian and Colleen.